This video introduces controlling jobs. Job control is a command shell feature allowing a single shell instance to run and manage multiple commands. With job control, commands can be selectively suspended, resumed, run in the background, and this allows the shell prompt to return to allow additional commands to be run instead of just one at a time. We need to understand two terminologies. The first one is known as a foreground process, and an explanation first. A foreground process is a command that's running in a terminal window. You see it. It has some sort of output, possibly. But we call that being connected to the terminal device, the TTY, which is known as the controlling terminal. So you're running in the foreground, which means a user can see it. When a shell window is first open, we call that a process session. And all processes that are started from that window, from that process session, actually share the same session ID. You will see this later. The point to understand here is that within a process session, or that is to say within a window, there can only be one process running in the foreground. That makes sense. You've seen that. You can't really be running multiple things that are displaying in the window at the same time. And because you can only do one process, you only get the prompt to do one process at a time. However, what we're going to do with job control is put things into the background. Well, what's background? A background process is something that started either without a controlling terminal or put into the background because we know that it doesn't need a display and we can run it quietly in the background, kind of hidden behind the scenes. In a PS listing, any method or process or routine that's running in the background, we can tell that because it shows up here. Look at the TTY column right in the middle and the question marks. What that basically means is it's not running in a window or it's not running on a terminal with a display. There is no controlling terminal. In other words, it's running quietly in the background. Let's kick off a process, and I'm just going to sleep for 10,000 seconds. I just want something that runs for a long time. If I kick this off, this will take up my prompt and keep busy for 10,000 seconds in the foreground. So let's start it again. I just aborted that. Let's start it again by putting in the background. Any command can be started in the background by appending an ampersand to the command line. When this happens, the bash shell displays a job number and the process ID of the new job. So this is job number 1, and it happens to be process ID 9875. You'll notice by putting it in the background, the command shell does not wait for the child process. It just redisplays the shell prompt. The bash command tracks these jobs per session with the jobs command. Notice there's job 1 running. We can tell it's a sleep command. At any time, if you want to watch or work with a command again that's running in the background, you can bring it back to the foreground by using a command known as FG, foreground. You need to know what the job number is, and I can see not the process ID, but the job number, which in this case is job number 1. And notice the percent syntax to indicate job number as opposed to process number. What I'm asking is to take that process and bring it back to the foreground. And again, here it is running in the foreground, tying up my command prompt. At any point that I want to take something that I've already started in the foreground and I want to put it in the background, there's a technique called suspending it. And the keystroke from the command line to suspend something, since you can't type in any other commands, you can just do keystrokes, is Control-Z. That suspends it. And it also puts it in the background. Notice, though, that it stops. It just like suspended animation. If we query jobs to see what it's doing, it's still job 1. It is in the background, but it's not running. To get it to continue running in the background while it is suspended, we use the background command on it, BG. So this will leave it in the background, but it will actually cause it to start running again. And we can prove that with jobs to see that it's actually running. It's also interesting, we can see jobs PS-J interestingly shows us the status of jobs and all the processes. I'm asking for everything that's relative to this window, but you'll notice that the PS-J has a state of running while everything else was sleeping. While something is suspended, let's foreground that sleep task again. And then let's suspend it again. So it's in the background, but it's stopped. And if I look at the PS-J again, notice the T, which is the stopped state for that sleep process. And then as soon as I background it, BG, to get it to start running again, remember that there can only be one thing running on a single CPU at a time, and it turns out that every time we run the PS-J, that's what it captures as what's running. But the sleep is running, it just doesn't happen to be the thing on the CPU at the time, so it looks like it's sleeping, waiting for something, waiting to get input to do something. In later parts of this chapter, you're going to learn how to kill off processes, including these things running in the background. So that concludes the introduction to controlling jobs.